hope in? What's to die for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's to die for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'ma live it, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
Welcome to the Living Hope Agency Call. I am so excited for our special guest tonight, Mr. Josh Lockhart out of Atlanta, Georgia. I won't spoil Josh's story, but just a little bit of edification for him. Josh is a former insurance agent turned network marketing industry veteran, and he has made his way over to Family First Life and is just absolutely crushing it. In the third week of September, he went out and he earned over $30,000 for the week. Okay. Some of us have previously earned $30,000 in a year. Some, have maybe strived to make $10,000 in a month, but Josh was able to go out and have a $30,000 week, and it was just work. And it was also being a part of a system like no other. So before we bring Josh on, just want to highlight this quick slide right here. What really makes Family First Life the best business ever. 5 reasons why this is the best place to work. Number one, high compensation. We have the highest compensation in the industry. You're starting at 90% commission, and you can earn up to 145% plus bonuses. If you're new to the industry and you're hearing 145% commission, over 100%, how is that even possible? We will dig into that a little bit. But probably the best sales gig and highest commission sales opportunity on the planet. Top training, best training in the industry from active top producers. People who are currently doing it. So not people who did it 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, but people who are doing it today. And it's all free. So all of our conventions are free. There's no fees. We have warm buyer leads. So there's no reaching out to friends and family and, making a list and doing it that way. We have people raising their hands saying, hey, I want life insurance. And there's also people raising their hands saying, hey, I want to sell life insurance. It's a real business. No fees, no cost for training, no cost for your back office, no cost for annual convention. All you have to do is pay for a license, and that's it. And also vested renewals, meaning you can earn a residual income from day one. So let's go ahead and bring on our special guest, Mr. Josh Lockhart. Josh, did you make it on the call?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you, man. Well, hey, Josh, I know there's a lot of people on here who are excited to kind of hear your story. I kind of touched a little bit on your background, but I'd love to kind of hear it from the horse's mouth. Just tell us a little bit of, who you are, what you've done in the past, kind of what industries you've been a part of, and kind of how you found your way to Family First Life.
Absolutely. So like I said, we're in Atlanta, Georgia. We've lived a lot of places over the last 15 years, North Carolina, Virginia. My wife and I, Michelle, we spent most of our time in Michigan and actually got recruited into the life insurance industry 15 years ago. I spent about a year there, actually had to go to people's houses and pick up their monthly premium every month, which crazy experience. I don't recommend it for anybody. And I left that to go to the PNC world, spent a couple of years selling home and auto insurance. That was right after the 2008, 2009 mess. And so I was told to get customers, go make friends with real estate agents and mortgage brokers. They'll pass you business, and they were all going out of business. So that was pretty tough. And then I spent the last, 12, 13 years in direct sales and network marketing company. It was kind of a good fit for what I was doing with the insurance at the time, and kind of made a full-time thing of that over the past decade. I guess we can, talk about a little bit more, why I chose to be here, I suppose, but just to kind of keep my story short, when I first look at Family First, I got up to the point where I made over 6-figure income. I only did that 1 year. The rest of the time was a different story. We can talk about that, but I made over 6-figure income, was making more money than I'd ever made. And, but I had these bigger goals that I wanted to hit. I've had this goal. I wrote it down. I don't know if you ever write down your goals. I'm like, man, I want to make 6 figures a month. And it's crazy at the time. I'm like, I don't have a plan to get there. I don't know how I'm going to get there. And I remember seeing a video. I think it was Zach Tradowski. I think it was. And he said, he was talking about, the high comp and the leads and everything with Family First, which, I've called lots and lots of leads over my time, different types of leads. I've knocked on doors. I've done direct mail. I've called all kinds of insurance leads, work from home leads, all this stuff. So he was talking about these leads and what he did. And he said something like, he would set appointments. He would set 30 appointments a week. He'd sit on 20 and he'd sell on 10. I remember he said that. And I'm like, well, that checks out. That makes sense to me. And the first thought that I had, and he was like, yeah, the average sale is about a $1,000 commission. I'm like, okay, so that's $10,000 a week. And so the first thought I had, well, if that's what he's doing, if that's what the average person is doing, then I'll just double it and make $1 million a year by myself. And that was the first thought that I had. And so I'm like, I have to try this. So just so everyone knows, my wife, Michelle, for anybody that does know her, she's really the brains behind everything that we've done over the last decade. So she actually started as a single mom, stay-at-home mom in April, right? She'd been a stay-at-home mom for like 5 years, and she jumped in family first initially, and she went out and part-time made like an extra $8,000 in April. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't have my wife out earning me. We're pretty competitive. And so I started May 1st, and, right away, week 1, we just literally did exactly what the boot camp and the training said. We ran the full-time schedule. We bought the leads. I did, said, you sent me a script. I read the script on the phone. I set the appointments. It did exactly what the video said. And pretty much from week 1, we were submitting over $10,000 a week. And we've effectively, tripled or quadrupled our income seemingly overnight. So super, super excited about everything going on.
I love it, man. Well, we're super happy to have you and Michelle. You guys are a huge blessing to have on the team. Just brought like a whole good amount of energy to the group, and you're really leading from the front, and we're excited to have you. So let's just talk a little bit about, you talked about submitting 10,000 in a week. So let's just talk. So there's going to be some people on here who are just visiting us for the first time. They don't really know what that means. So talk about how they determine what an insurance premium looks like and what that looks like for our commission.
So, yeah, let's say, $84 a month. If somebody is paying $84 a month for their insurance policy, right, times 12, that's going to be roughly $1,000 for the year. And the first company I worked for, I would get about 30% of that up front. Right. So I'd get about $300, which at the time I was like, well, that's pretty good. I formerly didn't make that much. And, I've worked for different companies, 40%, 50% was pretty good. And that's really why I stayed away from the insurance industry for so long. I'm like, okay, well, 50% comp, there's no leads, friends and family, 2 months of underwriting, which just means you can write a policy. And if it doesn't get approved, they have to look all in their background, and you might not get paid for 2 months. I had that experience. So when I saw this, I'm like, okay, well, I'm used to 50% was the highest I ever had. Right. So over 100%, that's just nuts. Meaning, if it's $84 a month, $1,000 for the year, you're going to give me over, as much as or over $1,000 up front and in advance. Like that's nuts. So if I go do 10 of those this week, that's $10,000. And of course, most of what we do, we don't have to worry about the 2 months of underwriting. So that's like 48 hours from now, I can get paid. So that's why, I love the life insurance industry, because the product's so scalable, right? I had that big week, the $30,000 week. I remember one day I enrolled this young lady for, $13 a month, right? A little policy, no big deal. It's money, it still cashes, right? But later that day, I talked to a guy who was a millionaire, and his premium was $623 a month, over $7,000 for the year. So, just between those two, it ended up being over $8,000 that was paid out, a few days later, which is pretty exciting.
Wow, bro. I think it's something that's kind of unheard of for a lot of people who don't understand this industry, but it's work at the end of the day. This is not something where we're going to say, come in here and anybody can go out there and just sit on their butt and earn $10,000 in a week. You had to buy the leads, call the leads, go and sit with the families and actually set them up with insurance. You drove your car to their house. In some cases, you did it over the phone, FaceTime, virtual, but you did the work. And I think it's important to understand that in previous industries that you've been a part of, you were, we always joke, you were overworked and underpaid. I like to say that here, we're overworked and overpaid, and we choose how much we want to work. And you can earn as much as you want here for the amount of work that you put in. So Josh, let's just talk a little bit about the previous industry that you came from. So obviously there was, you earned a 6-figure income, but obviously there's a goal of helping as many people on your team hit that same goal as you. And I came from that exact same industry. So it's not something that, I'm super biased about in regards to like, oh, I'm one of those network marketing haters, because I'm not. I love network marketing and I love what that industry can do for you, the personal development, the culture. But I can't tell you how many people over the years were really great producers who worked their butts off, that they worked their butts off to maybe get to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. And they just strived and strived and strived for that six-figure income. And I got to it and you got to it, but there were so many people who never made it there. And then I come to Family First Life, and I remember I was kind of a little bit behind the eight ball with some of my friends from the MLM industry that came here. And there was some guys that I knew who never made more than $1,000 in a month in network marketing that were going out and doing $50,000 months. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like there's no way that is possible, but obviously it is here with FFL, with the insurance industry. It's one of the best industries on the planet. And Family First Life is the largest insurance marketing organization inside of that massive industry. And they've kind of become the insurance disruptor. Josh talked about how 30% comp, 40% comp, 50% comp, that is the industry standard. And the reason why, and you have to understand that most of these insurance companies, they all have the same top comp. The only difference is they're keeping most of the money on a corporate level, and the managers are keeping most of the money. So if I bring Josh in at a 30% commission and I'm at 100% commission as a manager, and the corporate structure is at 145% commission, me and the corporate team make more than Josh does when Josh sells a policy. That's pretty messed up. Our CEO, Sean, he wanted to flip the script. He thought that was wrong. He thought that the agent deserved to make most of the money. And he decided to take the Amazon approach, where I'd rather have a little bit of a lot. I'd rather have 5% of a watermelon than, 50% of a grape. And, it's gone on to be where FFL is the largest insurance marketing organization in the country. And it's not even close. Our next competition is 10 times smaller than us. So in a month, we're doing more than almost every single insurance marketing organization in the country does in an entire year. And that's at least just our top competitors. So it's very exciting. So Josh, for you, I guess, what were the big things that were attractive to you about Family First Life? And when you're looking at, obviously you understand how to look for a good business opportunity. Like, what were the main things for you that were attractive, especially if you've got people on here who are wanting to see what this is all about? What are the main things that you love the most?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, number one was, the leads, right? So when I got started in insurance and network marketing, I was 23 years old. Actually, I worked for this insurance company, and they flat out told me, you're too young. You don't know anybody. No one's going to take you seriously. You're probably going to get fired, but good luck. And I'm like, okay, how do I grow my business? And they're like, go talk to people. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, figure it out. And then that was it, and even network marketing. I mean, you hear, it's really, you hear, hey, just go work hard, talk to a lot of people, write a list. And I was like, well, where's this magical list come from? Where do I get said list? And as a young guy who doesn't know anybody, how do I do this? And you just hear, well, just work hard. Just, you kind of hear the same thing over and over again. And so from either I need income now standpoint, or I need to grow a team standpoint, you show up to a place like Family First, they're like, hey, I have unlimited leads. People are asking for the product right now. You just have to call them and set them an appointment. You can go out and, we just saw the post from the 19-year-old today, who over the last 9 months made $400,000 on his own personal pen, right? If we ask him, it's probably not because he's a big influencer in his network. He just called the leads, sat with the leads, sold the leads. Right. And then also, if you're trying to build an agency, a team, whatever you want to call it, and you recruit the 23-year-old version of myself who had no network, didn't know who to talk to, right? You have to wait a long time, hope and pray that this guy figures it out on his own. But if you can go, hey, here's people to talk to that want what we have, you just have to call them. People like myself and others will work day and night to make it happen. So that's number one. Number two is the high comp, obviously. My last gig, I think I was at one of the top levels. It was a 48% comp. So, 110, 120 is amazing. The premium scalability, again, if you go online right now, you hear things like, oh, you got to be in high ticket sales, or, there's Amazon businesses. It's all about volume. I think FFL is that sweet spot where you can do a lot of volume. You can sell a lot of policies, but then you'll run into $600 a month cases. you'll see guys like Alan George putting up $13,000 in a weekend. We saw the lady last week, 72 grand in 1 week, and all the rest. So it's that sweet spot between high ticket and volume based. And then the thing that got me really excited, I'm 37, I have a 6 and 4-year-old, and we write business through a multitude of 100-year-old, billion-dollar insurance carriers, and our appointments, our comp, and everything is direct to them, right? And so, God bless FFL, but if they blew up tomorrow, we would still have that. And, let's face it, anybody that's ever worked for a captive company or even network marketing, they say you own your book of business, but you're really renting it, because if they wanted to change the comp, change anything about the agreements that you have, that could be different 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And, I had to have a conversation with my wife, and we said, well, hey, we're building this legacy 30 years from now. Do we feel supremely comfortable that it's going to be here for our kids, like we always talked about? And, I'm not going to say that it definitely wasn't, but I definitely had, maybe 1, 2, 3, 5% doubt, because I saw what was going on with some other folks. And I said, well, placing my business with 1,500-year-old businesses, agent companies, that feels a lot better to me. I can actually own my own book of business and not just rent it. So that was just kind of a few things that really, stuck out to me, going, hey, I can plant my flag here and go all in.
I love that, man. So we're happy to have you here. Obviously it's the best business ever. That is without question. Let's talk a little bit about how it all works, because I think it's important for people to understand that it's hard work, but it's very simple work. So just kind of walk people through like what that looks like. So obviously you got to get a license, and walk us through like getting a license to, getting your first sale.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just face it. The getting started process of licensing and testing it is a bit tedious. You have to study for 40 hours. You have to go take, that's online classes, multiple choice questions, and it is a tedious test, right? Once you do that and you pass the test, you got to get appointed with the carriers. You have to pick up some E&O insurance, cost you $30. Maybe you got to get fingerprinted background checks. You have to wait for all these carriers to put you on, it might take a few weeks. I like that, because honestly, it vets the people who aren't serious, right? Network marketing, you pay $100 or $200, whatever it is, and you're in, and then that person doesn't do anything, right? And that's so frustrating. You know the deal. So it is a little bit of vetting process. And I think, the FTC probably looks at it the same way. That's why they make the test the way they do. But once you get through all that, right, you go through the boot camp, which honestly, people are like, well, tell me what you did. Teach me what you did. And I'm like, I literally just did exactly what the boot camp says. And my wife is super organized. I am not, right? So if you know her, like, she went through everything like with a fine tooth comb, and we did exactly what the boot camp said, right? We got the carriers, we printed off, the exact things it said to print off, the scripts, we printed those off, and we're like, well, what do you say on the phone? Exactly what the script says. We're like, did you change anything? No, like, we just read the script, and that was it, And so anyway, we got started, and we wanted to start full-time. Now, some people start full-time, some people start part-time. So I kept hearing the full-time schedule is 30 appointments a week, right? So that's, you're dialing on day Monday to get 15 appointments for Tuesday, Wednesday. You do it again on Thursday for Friday, Saturday. You take Sundays off. Now, I've been working for 6 days a week plus for years. So that was no different for me. I'm like, okay. So day one, we bought about 100 plus internet leads through the CRM. All right. We bought them, dialed all day. I think the first day I set 11, 12 appointments for the next Tuesday, Wednesday. And we went out, ran those appointments. Now, I remember those first couple appointments, of course, you don't really know what to expect because it's new. You think it's going to go well. And I remember the first 3, I wasn't like my wife, Michelle. She actually sold her first appointment, first sit. She sold it. She's better than I am. My first 3, I didn't sell. And I was like, man, something's missing. I'm not doing something right. And there was a training video that day. So boot camp said, get on the training. So I got on the training, and this guy was talking about what he does in the home to set the table to make it go right. And so the first 3 I didn't sell. And then I went a week and sold every single one that I sat on, doing exactly what they said to do by setting the table. Right. And so that was it. So from there, the next Thursday did it again, bought another 100 leads, 15 appointments, 30 appointments a week. And we've been running on the exact schedule that they talked about in boot camp.
Okay, great. So obviously, that's a really good basic overview. I know there's a lot of people on here that want to know, okay, well, so the average person, they come in here and they buy, 75 to 100 leads per dial day, and they set 15 appointments per dial day. They run 30 appointments, they sit on 20, they close 10. And if you do that, you can expect about an $1,100 commission per policy sold. That's $10,000 for a week, which is more than most people have ever made in a month, is possible to earn in a week if you are willing to learn the skill set, which if I were you and I didn't have this skill set, I would be doing whatever it possibly took I would run through a brick wall to learn the skill set, because it's one of the best skills that you can have. You can learn to make money at will. But you had a $30,000 week. So was $30,000, was that something where you just have some extra level of skill that the rest of the group doesn't have? Or was it really just as simple as you bought more leads and you ran more appointments, and because you did that, you just ran 3 times as many appointments, and 2 times, 3 times as many appointments, and you had 3 times as much? Like, what does that look like?
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. So like I told you, when I first heard that, the 30, 20, 10, I'm like, well, let me see if I can just double it. That's how I think about it. And so, yeah, I think I scheduled somewhere between 45 and 50 appointments that week. I spent a little over $3,000 of leads. And, when you get started, I heard people say, well, you put $1 in, you get $5 back. Well, as you get better, you put $1 in, you can get 10 back, 12 back. And that's certainly been the case for us. So, we just said, well, hey, we'll just spend more on leads. We'll get, more appointments on the books. And what I found out is, we ran into some big cases. I'll tell you about one. It was one of the mortgage leads. And I walk in, pretty nice house. This lady, she's making 6 figures. I sit down and she said, hey, I'm glad you're here. I am buying insurance today. So there is no pitch. There's no presentation. I'm like, okay. So I just ran through the questions. We found what she wanted. And at one point she's like, oh, actually, can we bump it up just a little bit? Oh, and I want some insurance for my son too. I'm just taking orders, it's nuts. It's nuts. Right. And so what I found out is if you just run enough appointments, you're going to run into big cases. And so I'm like, okay, at 30 or 40 appointments, it seems like every other week I run into just big stuff. This guy, I roll up to his house. He literally has lion statues on the sides of his door. If that tells you anything, he's worth $4 million. And I walk in, he's like, all right, I want $1 million of insurance. What can you do for me? Like, I've never had a sales background, any position, anything where you walk in and they just say, this is what I want. I'm here to get it today. Now, not every single one goes like that, but if you run enough appointments, that happens quite a lot. It blows my mind.
Definitely.
Not to mention one more thing. I've sold life insurance before, and it was always me chasing down prospects. Hey, Jamie, you need this. Let's set up a time. Let me look at your plan. Well, and here, after I get done with the appointment, I know you probably had this, like, people are thanking me. People are crying. People are hugging me. I don't know where my family would be if I didn't get this done. They're giving me, gifts. Like somebody gave me a homemade bird feeder they built. And, I wasn't prepared for the emotional aspect of how this affects people. Like I'm a numbers guy. Okay, do this, do, got the customer, made the commission, boom, boom, boom. But that side of it, like it just kind of sideswiped me in a very good way.
Yeah. One of my first mentors, Grady, who a lot of you guys will learn and meet through this business. He is kind of the head of FFL America, which is one of our overarching agencies. And his dad, a guy named Glenn Polson, he's been in the insurance industry for 40 plus years. He's in his 60s. And when I got involved in FFL, he goes, Jamie, welcome to the most honorable profession on the planet. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, when somebody dies, everybody is reaching their hand out saying, we need something, pay for the funeral, pay for this, pay for that. He owes on a truck payment. His house is about to foreclose. You need to fork up some cash. And he goes, and you're the only person who's going to be reaching back with a check. He's like, when you have your first death claim, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I had my first death claim recently, 55-year-old guy who he was very hesitant about getting the insurance, and his wife really, really wanted it. And he was like, nope, I'm good. I'm invincible. I'm never going to pass away. And I said, okay, let's just go ahead and submit a request for coverage, see if you can even get approved. And he was healthy, so obviously he was going to get approved. It wasn't a huge policy. It was like 20 or 30 grand. But he ended up passing away like 14 days later from a massive heart attack on the way home from work. And it's crazy because that type of stuff happens every single day. And obviously, you know, the wife was very grateful. You know, she doesn't get to keep her loved one, you know, most devastating day of her life, but she does get to keep from being in financial ruin. And that's the power of what we have here. So I feel convicted that what the service that we provide is a service that truly helps people. You know, from our previous background, you know, if you want to sell, you know, health and wellness products, sure, everybody needs health and wellness supplements, but you don't need it. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury. Okay. You know, as long as you have, you know, food and water and shelter, you know, you're okay. Health and wellness products are a luxury. You know, being a part of a travel and adventure club, like I was previously a part of, huge luxury. But if I pass away, my wife's a stay-at-home mom with our 6-week-old son, and, you know, life insurance would, you know, it's not going to bring me back, but it's going to allow her to be able to continue living from a financial perspective. And that's the kind of hope that we get to offer to people. So, like I said, one of the most honorable professions on the planet. I want to dig back a little bit to leads. So you mentioned that you spent $3,000 in a week on leads to earn $30,000. And I think that that's something that probably scares people, because they're like, spend $3,000 in a week. Now, we're not saying that you have to do anything. Nothing is mandatory here. There's no sign-up fees. You don't have to pay money to join, nothing like that. You can even talk to your friends and family if you want to about insurance, because everyone should have insurance. But one of the easiest ways to create a book of business here is to buy interested prospects in your area who are already raising their hand, looking for insurance. Our average lead is about $10 to $11. And if I spend about $1,000, I'll get 90 to 110 opportunities, depending on the type of lead that I purchase. And if I sit down with somebody, if I book 15 appointments out of 100, so some people look at that and they say, well, 85 people didn't answer or said, no, these leads suck. But I sat down and I got 15 appointments, sat with 10, sold 5, and I earned $5,000. So you're saying I spent 1,000 and earned 5,000. I spent $1 and made 5, or I spent $1 and made 10 as you start to get better. Who wouldn't do that over and over and over again? And I think it's important to highlight that we buy leads one time. So we're not getting people to drain their savings account for leads. We're saying, hey, buy leads one time, go out and earn your first couple commissions, reinvest that back into leads. And now you have a real cash flowing business where you're going to use the profit that you've earned, pour it back into the business. And now you're playing with house money. It's like when you go to play blackjack and, you know, I put $10 down and I win, I get another $10 back. I put the original $10 back in my pocket, and now I'm playing with house money. That's the goal, is to get people playing with house money as quickly as possible. If I own a Subway, I got to pay for employees. I got to pay for bread, meat, and cheese. Okay. I got to do that every single week. We buy leads, interested prospects. If I have a restaurant, I'm paying for advertising. If you have any type of business, you need to generate business, and you could go out and you could talk to your friends and family, but there's only so many aunts and uncles that you have before you're the annoying guy at Thanksgiving that everybody's avoiding because they don't want to buy a policy from you. Whereas I didn't have to talk to a single friend or family. Josh didn't have to talk to a single friend or family. And we were able to just go to work and talk with people who were already requesting the information. So we bought leads, and then we sit down and we dial the leads. We tell them that we're coming over. And some people are like, yeah, come on over. Some people are a little bit more hesitant to let us come over. And there's a great script to get through the door. And when you get there, I think this is the part I really want to dig into, Josh. You talked about how we're order takers. I think that's really important because I think people need to know the simplicity of what we do. The first thing that I do when I sit down after I figure out why they filled it out is I reduce the sales pressure by saying, hey, there's absolutely no fancy presentation. And people are like, their shoulders go down like, oh, thank you. Like I was expecting like the flip book, to go through the entire presentation with me. That's not what this is. It's just we sit down and, I'll kind of let you walk through it. So talk about setting the table. Like, let's talk about what that actually looks like. We won't dig too deep into the phones today, but just to give people a simplicity of, you got a lead card in your hand. I let you in the door, knock, knock. You say shoes on or off. We sit down at the table and you throw the lead card down on the table. Just walk us through what that conversation looks like and what the setting of the table of a 30K a week producer looks like.
Absolutely. And that actually happened to me today. The lady says, I get in the door and she's like, hey, you can set up over here. I'm like, I don't have anything to set up. I don't have a presentation. And she's like, oh, okay. But yeah, very super casual. Very, like you said, the first thing is, why did you fill this out? So I sit down at the table or wherever we're sitting, and I'm just very direct. I don't do a lot of, hey, how's the kids? How's this stuff? Unless it comes up, and I just say, hey, Jamie, tell me what has you looking into life insurance. And I let them tell me it's, hey, I don't have anything in place. And if something happens to me, my daughter has to pay for burial, or I'd like to leave something behind, or, I'd like to cover the mortgage or whatever it is. And I spend like 2 or 3 minutes finding that out. I don't take my stuff out. I sit back and just let them tell me. So it's just very much an authentic conversation. Once I kind of feel like, okay, they've really told me. Sometimes they're like, well, I don't know, it's a good idea. And but who are we trying to protect here? And I'll spend 2 or 3 minutes there. Once we have that established, I pull out the credibility sheet with all the companies, say, hey, look, Jamie, I'm not a salesperson with one company. I'm the underwriter through all these companies. You probably recognize them. They'll say, oh yeah, Gerber, I've seen on TV, or this company or that company, whatever it is. Say, yep. So here's what we're going to do today. All right. And I'll pull out one of my manila folders with everything I printed off in boot camp. I say, hey, here's what we're going to do today. I pull out the client inventory. We're going to fill this out. I'm going to get in your business a little bit, ask you a few questions, mostly medical. Then I'm going to put it into my computer here. We're going to find out what you qualify for. Once we find that out, we'll find the best option, the cheapest option, all that good stuff. And once we find that, we'll submit a request to the carrier, because a lot of times it takes sometimes a couple of days, sometimes a week or more for them to come back and find out, hey, are you approved, what you're approved for, that type of thing. Once you're approved, Jamie, that's when the policy starts. That's when you pay the first monthly premium. And by state law, you have a 30-day free look. So in the first 30 days, if they find out, hey, I want more or less, change my mind completely, whatever the case may be, you can do whatever you want in those 30 days. So all we're going to do today is do some paperwork and submit a request. Make sense? They always say, yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, when we submit the request, I'm going to need 2 things from you that I don't already have. And that's going to be your driver's license or ID and a bank account on file. Right. So the payment, we're not doing a payment today, but we do need that one on file. All right. And then we get started. And from there, it's literally just filling out the inventory, asking the questions, and then finding out, what the best product is. That 2-minute piece sets up everything. Now, I didn't do that at first. I'm trying to run a quote. They don't want to give me their social security number. They don't want to give me their bank account after I spend an hour with them. Doing that, getting everything up front, 99% of the time, they'll give me literally everything, all the personal information, the bank information, and we're submitting a request. It is simple as that, because that's what they agreed to do from the onset of the appointment.
So at what point do you walk through every single product that we have and explain each benefit and why life insurance? Like, at what point do you sell them on life insurance?
None. We don't do that.
Because at the end of the day, the people are already sold on life insurance. They wouldn't have filled out a request for coverage if they didn't already know they needed life insurance. And I think that's really important to highlight, because, if you come from a cold sales background or a friends and family background, I'm calling up Aunt Mary and saying, hey, Aunt Mary, I just got into the insurance industry. Do you have life insurance? No. Well, here's why you need life insurance. And now I'm having to go through every single reason why she needs life insurance. Whereas the people who are requesting life insurance, they already know that they need it. We get on the phone call and, Josh, this is Jamie, just getting back to you in regards to that inquiry you sent into our office about the life insurance program here for Lynn County. I'm just the medical underwriter who's been assigned to get this informational packet out to you. I just need to go ahead and confirm, your address, 123 Main Street. Is that correct? Yep. Date of birth, 8/15/93. Correct. Yep. Okay. Yeah. And most people fill these out because they want to make sure if they pass away, there is something in place for like burial, cremation, final expenses, leave some money behind for the family. Is that what you were looking for? Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Okay. And it's like, even right in setting the appointment, they tell you, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. Okay. So we show up to the house, and I think it's important to understand that like these people are there ready for their order to be taken. And it's our job just not to screw it up. I think that's one of the most important things that people need to understand is that if you're not protecting a family, I mean, I'll say this in the kindest way possible, but you're just kind of being weird, and they're uncomfortable. You're trying to sell them, and they don't want to be sold. They just want to be helped. They want their order taken, and they want you to point them in the direction of who they qualify for the most coverage. They don't want to be sold. I think that's one of the most important things. And I think it's also important to know that if you just run the numbers, you literally can be the worst person who has ever been in the insurance industry. If you just show up, if you set 30 appointments and you show up to 30 appointments, you will sell like 3, 4, 5, 6 appointments just for showing up, because the people are like some of those people like Josh said are like, hey, I'm looking for 20 grand in coverage. It's like, okay, gotcha. Here's 20 grand in coverage. Here's how much it costs. Perfect. Here's my banking information. And some of them are that smooth. Other times you've got some people who of course are going to be a little bit more skeptical because they don't know you, and you're going to have to overcome some objections, and you're going to have to build their trust a little bit. But that's sales in general. You're not going to sell every single person. I would say that like 2 out of 10, you can pretty much sell just by showing up. When you want to get into like the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10, that takes a little bit of skill. And then there's like the last 3 out of 10 that nobody sells, like just absolutely nobody sells. Even the best life insurance producer in the world, maybe they sell them, but most people don't. So if you just show up 1, 2, 3 out of 10, they're going to buy just because they already requested it, and it's your job not to screw it up. And then you got that group in the middle where some of the skill set that we teach people, where you can find some of these big cases, this, $500-600 a month. But a lot of the times it's just, I can't tell you how many times Josh is, selling a, $20 a month policy, $50 a month, $70 a month, $10 a month policy. And then he finds a $300 a month policy, and, it's huge. So I guess it's just important, Josh, to let everybody know just how simple this business is. It's something that a lot of people overcomplicate. And I think the number one thing that separates you from anybody else is not like your incredible skill set, because I think what you said there, setting the table, it wasn't rocket science. It's something that anybody can learn how to set the table like that. You said, maybe, a minute and a half of words, and those words were just, hey, why'd you fill this out? And here's what we're going to do today. Just very assumptive. Here's what we're going to do today. I think the major difference between you and some of these other people out there is you've decided to work a little bit harder. So for somebody on here who is just trying to decide, I'm not sure if this is the right fit for me, what is your advice for them? If there's somebody who maybe has come from a background where they've worked hard, but they haven't been paid what they're worth, and they're coming into FFL, like, what is your advice to them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I tell you that the whole, working hard, everybody, if we ask everybody says, I work hard. Right. And I believe that. I mean, I've certainly worked hard in my career. I've had, good years, previous, aside from the 1 6-figure year, it was like 50,000. Then things would fall apart. We go back to 20 or 30, we'd build it back up. And I was working hard then. Now I would say, am I working any harder today? I'm not working any harder. Now I'm putting in more hours, but I mean, sitting at somebody's table with my legs crossed in their air condition, hearing about their kids, I don't really consider that hard work. I am very consistent. You know what I mean? On dial day every day, they said 30 appointments. Okay. 30 appointments or better. And if you just decide to, every house that I go in, I don't worry about the premium. I don't worry about the commission. It is my goal. There's a few things I have goals, and they're all based on just the consistent numbers, right? So when we're on dial day, it's like, okay, we are going to get 15 appointments now, or if I'm in a house and it's the smallest of budgets. I remember I see my buddy Dan on here. He was with me, and we were in this guy's house, and we grinded out a $10 a month accident plan because the guy didn't have anything. And I'm like, I'm sitting here. We had technical glitches. We had to call his insurance company. And I sat through all that. And I said, most people would have been like, hey, this is not worth it. I'm getting out of here. I'm like, no, I'm going to protect everybody. right? My job when I get in the home is to protect the family no matter what. And so it's just a few things. Like, I'm always going to buy leads on Mondays and Thursdays if you're full time. I'm always going to set 30 appointments a week or better, because that's what the standard is. I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to protect the family because it's the right thing to do, even if I may have to say something that might be deemed a bit pushy, not disrespectful, but just being very real and honest and direct with the person. I'm very comfortable in doing that. But just saying, I'm going to do everything I can to meet these bottom rungs of the ladder, knowing that it's all going to work out in the end. My family's going to be taken care of, the money's going to be paid, right? Everything is going to work out. So that's really that is, if this truly is a work hard business, it's not based on influence or how good you are, or your pedigree, or where you came from. Literally, if you just put in the time, put in the work, make the dials, go see the people, it will work out.
Okay. Well, with our last couple of minutes, I want to talk a little bit about building a team. I've never seen a better opportunity to earn income on your own pen. But I've also never seen an opportunity like this when it comes to building a team, building an organization. And, no, that's not the main focus of everything that we do. We're here to protect families. But of course, if you learn a skill set to make money at will, I mean, it's kind of cliche, but wouldn't it be selfish to not share that with everybody that who you think obviously is a hard worker that deserves more, of course. So we teach people how to sell insurance. So we sell insurance, we teach people how to sell insurance. And of course, from teaching somebody how to sell insurance, you can earn what's considered an override, which means a percentage of every sale that agent makes. So let's just do some math, and these numbers aren't real, but we'll just pretend. I'm at 100% commission and Josh is at 110% commission. Okay, so Josh brings me in, and I go out and I sell a $83 a month policy. So that's $1,000 for the year. I make $1,000. Josh makes $100 because there was a total of $1,100 in commission. And there's also, of course, top comp of the company is 145. So there's a couple managers between, Josh and corporate. So, really a $1,450 commission paid out from the insurance carriers, and 350 of that was paid to whatever managers were above Josh. 100 of that was paid to Josh, and 1,000 of that was paid to me because I did the work. Okay. But Josh taught me how to sell insurance. And, of course, if he helps me, he deserves a piece of that. So if I go out and I earn $10,000 in a month, and Josh earns $1,000 off of the production that I've done. So from a team building perspective, if I recruit 10 people who I can help earn $10,000 in a month, which $10,000 in a month here, we would consider that below average. We would consider that part-time. Our average agent across our organization, we had 70 agents write a policy in the we'll look back at the month of July just because those numbers are off the top of my head. We had $605,000 in commissions across 70 agents. Our average commission was about $8,000 for the month. So that means that there are some people like Josh who earned $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for the month. And there's some people who earned $1,000, $2,000, of course, averages, but our average commission was about $8,000. So if I have 10 agents who earn $10,000 a month and my average spread is 10%, that means that with 10 agents, I can earn $10,000 a month, not including what I sell off my own pen, which is kind of crazy. So I come from the background, Josh comes from the background, I've said a million times, network marketing, where, I remember when I hit a 6-figure income, I was doing the math the other day and I had 1,200 agents or downline in my network marketing business to earn $8,000 in a month. And that was me earning $8,000 in a month. That wasn't a bunch of people on my team earning $8,000 in a month. That was 1,200 people that had bought a product on a monthly basis for me to earn $8,000 in a month. The other day, I had I text Josh some stupid statistic about how for what we earned in a week, we would have had to enroll I think it was 80 people on a $500 package in network marketing in a week to be able to earn what was earned in a week. And it might even be more than that, but it was just, it's crazy. So the idea to build a team, you don't have to have a huge team here, 100, 150 agents, you could be a millionaire. You have 150 agents on your team who are producing at a decent level. you could be earning $80,000 to $100,000 a month in overrides. And there's a lot of people who are doing that. So Josh, what's your perspective on building a team here? What are your goals going into the end of the year? Obviously we got 3 months left, and we got convention here in February. What are your goals, and what do you want to help the people on your team do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm gonna try to keep it short because I could talk about this all day long. I mean, in network marketing, we used to say things like, if everyone on your team did what you did today, how much money would you earn? And I was always a top recruiter in network marketing. I was getting awards and all this stuff. I was getting awards and broke at the same time. And in my head, I never said this out loud, that if everyone did, what I did today, they would be where I am, which was broke. And so that was really frustrating. And then hear things like, oh man, people just want to make an extra $500 a month. And no one wants to make just an extra $500 a month. They might say that. Really what was happening in my experience was, if I, brought Jamie into the business, he would, part-time, maybe he would make $500 this month, and then he would quit. Somebody would replace him that made $500 next month, but no one was consistently making $500 a month. And if they were really shooting to pay all their bills, make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and they settled there. So, just the fact that you can bring somebody on to help them and literally go not only pay their bills, but make more money. Like, I don't care. It's almost, I even met a guy on Dave Wichard's team. He was making 300 grand at his job, and he quit to come to FFL because there's a bigger opportunity. So it almost doesn't matter what somebody's income is. You can show them how they can replace it extremely, extremely quick. So from a stability, growing a team, it's just a huge thing that we do. Not to mention, I've never seen anything like the recruiting campaign that we have. I've tried to generate leads and do all types of things. So the fact that, we have that resource available of people that are already going online going, hey, I want to sell insurance. Hey, I want to work with FFL. And we can just, buy into that. You can literally buy your way to the top here. You can go sell, make some money, and then reinvest the money, buy your way to the top to build this huge agency. And, my wife, Michelle, she kind of heads that department of our agency up, if you will, mostly. I mean, she's been crushing it. She's recruited, 20 people or so in the last week, just from that cold market strategy that's available to us all. So she's crushing it. So, since we've started, I don't know what the numbers, I'd have to ask her. I think we've recruited personally and put, well over 100 people into the class. And a lot of those people are getting started right now. And so as far as goals, first part of the year, we want to be our agents getting paid $1 million a month. So collectively, all the agents will be getting paid $1 million. That's incredible. And that's not like me saying that and no one's ever done it before. Right. It's one thing to make a declaration like, I'm going to be the first. I actually wouldn't be. So, we got a lot of work to do, but it's really exciting to see all the people that are getting started off of the efforts, just of some really, in my opinion, part-time efforts using the resources that we've had here over the last, 4 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So last thing, and we'll jump off of here. We're going to skip the Q&A today. I want to talk a little bit about Integrity Marketing Group. So I won't dig too deep into this because, we always say go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll see a little bit further. And this is so far down the path for so many people that we don't need to dig too deep into this. But in the insurance world, you can earn an incredible living by selling insurance. Like I'm talking, we have people who earn $1 million a year selling insurance, never talking to a single person about joining their agency. They earn $1 million a year. We had 3 people do it last year. Okay. And we had 156 people earn over 400K last year, and just off their own pen, not including overrides. And this year we'll probably have 350 people earn over 400K this year, just off their own pen, which you can imagine if we had about 6,000 agents, active agents sell a policy last week, and 350 of them are making over 400K for the year. Those are pretty good numbers, because when you look at some of the charts of other companies, it's like, you see at the top, the income disclosure statement, it's like less than 0.001% of people earn over a 6-figure income. There'll be 100,000 agents in the company, and there'll be 100 people earning 6 figures. We have 350 people this year who are going to earn over 400 grand, which means that there are probably 1,500, 2,000 people who will earn over a 6-figure income this year, out of 6,000 agents, which is just incredible. So you can earn an incredible income selling insurance. You can create long-term stable income, passive income through building an agency, through selling insurance, teaching people how to sell insurance, leading from the front, building a big team, earning some overrides, and that can pay you incredibly well. We have some agents who their bonus last month, their Family First Life, was over 400 grand. Their bonus, not including their overrides, just from building an agency. And I know those numbers sound crazy, but those people have worked really hard. Now, there's a light at the end of the tunnel because people say, well, am I going to sell insurance for the rest of my life? I'm going to run my agency for the rest of my life. You know, right now, my personal expenses running my agency is $25,000 a month. My goal is to get it to $50,000 a month as quickly as possible. And some people might think that's kind of crazy, but I'm trying to get to $50,000 a month in expenses to buy my way to the top. $50,000 a month in expenses. There's obviously going to be a lot of income earned at that point, but Integrity Marketing Group is what I would call like the Shark Tank of insurance agencies. They come in and they purchase insurance agencies that are producing at a high level. So if I have an insurance agency where if you take my personal production out of it and I'm profiting $500,000 or $1 million a year, they will buy your insurance agency from you. Now, there's a lot of non-disclosure agreements that have been signed. However, they're very large 7-8 figure lump sum payments for agencies, as well as yearly salary, stock options in a multi-billion-dollar company, Integrity. And this isn't just like some pie in the sky thing that hasn't ever been attained before. Integrity has purchased over 250 insurance agencies nationwide. And there are 3 insurance marketing organizations in the country that have had more than one of their agencies purchased. Okay. 2 of them have only had 2 purchased, and Family First Life has had 14 of their individual agencies purchased. And their goal is to have over 100 acquisitions by next year. And they said they'd like to do at least $1 billion worth of buyouts before it's all said and done with Family First Life. That's going to be over so many people's heads. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel where you can take your chips off the table and earn a salary for the rest of your life with a big 7-8 figure buyout to get your insurance agency purchased from you. Should you never attain an Integrity deal, you can still earn an incredible income selling insurance and building an agency. But Integrity is kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. So, Josh, I know Integrity is on your mind, and I know it's on a lot of people's minds who are building towards something. But about $500,000 a year in profitability as a business is when that will become a conversation that you can get to. So, you're at about 750 to $1 million a month in team production. You'll be at about 500K in profitability, and that's where your conversation can begin. So, Josh, any final words to somebody who, you know, obviously 30K in a week, you know, that is above average. Somebody wants to come here and they want to just earn, you know, 5,000 in a week, 10,000 in a week, 5,000 in a month, 10,000 in a month. Just any last parting words for the people, any advice on how they can get started fast, anything that you wish that you would have done quicker, just any final words?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you slice it, right? If you're part-time, you know, we talk about, you know, people doing 5K a weekend, you know, or an extra, you know, $6,000, $7,000, you know, their first month. You know, my wife, you know, we have two kids, and she's, you know, has them running everywhere. She's got to deal with me doing, you know, $8,000, you know, doing about 5 appointments a week. I mean, these are not numbers that people are used to hearing. In fact, you know, when I've been talking to people recently, you know, people are like, oh, how's it going? I'm telling them how it's going. You almost have to stop and go. They're like, oh, cool. 30 grand. You made 30 grand. That's awesome. Like, no, that's a week, you know, like you have to really stop, you know. I get calls like an hour later. They're like, wait a minute. Did you say, what is that really what it is? I mean, this is just not what people are used to hearing, right? Even part-time. So it doesn't matter if this is just like, hey, you know, I want to get out of what I'm doing. I want to make some extra. I would say that, you know, number one, wherever anybody is at financially that's coming into this, like, you just have to accept, right? Like there's a way bigger play at hand here, whether it be, you know, to go out and, you know, do $10,000 a week, you know, Integrity deal, you know, $1 million a month. Like, these numbers are not going to be what you're used to. And, you know, some people question it. They want to, you know, kind of hang out for a while, see if it's really real. You know, the one thing that I'm pretty proud that we did, but we could have done it even faster, is like, you know, as soon as we showed up, because, to me, like everything kind of made sense. The numbers made sense. I didn't second guess anything. In fact, I probably gotten in trouble with my wife. You sent me a text that one day, and within like seconds, I signed up to fly to LA and donate a bunch of money. It was a great time. I'm glad we went, but I was like, whatever it is, I want to do that. Right. Cause I know it's going to be better. So just, whatever it is, just adopt faster. And then, just go all in. And all in doesn't mean, hey, I quit my job necessarily. All in just means whatever the training is, whatever the protocol is, just, go on and say, hey, I'm going to just do all that. Let me go make 100 grand. And then I'll start asking questions. I mean, and that's literally what we did. You said, hey, buy these internet leads. We made $100,000. Then we started looking at the other ones. Right. So that would be that. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much, Josh, for joining us. And last thing, obviously there's people out there who, this is going to be posted on, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and, hopefully this will live on the internet forever. So hopefully we didn't say anything and get us in trouble. But if somebody wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you? Can you give them your cell phone number?
Yeah, absolutely. Cell phone's going to be area code 616-734-2013. Okay.
Can you say it one more time for people who are slow at writing?
Yeah, that's right. 616-734-2013.
Okay. And people can reach out to you on Facebook, Instagram.
Yep. If you go to Josh Lockhart on the Move, all one word, you can find me on all the platforms.
Okay, perfect, man. Well, hey, thank you so much. We appreciate you. If you guys thought that Josh brought some value, drop a 1 in the comments, and everybody have an absolutely amazing night, and we'll talk to y'all soon.